Folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. A little chilly this morning. Sun's getting ready to come up. And we've got a lot of things planned here today. Not here on the homestead, but a group of us men in our community are getting ready to leave, or gather, I guess I should say, another brother's house to do a work day. Kind of the stuff that people do in communities, folks. It's more than just coming together and talk about what kind of ammunition you're gonna all use or whatever. It's really pulling together and trying to build an infrastructure outside of the system, so that we're all in a place that we can kind of help each other. This is important. It brings me to a thought for today of why are we doing this? Why are we? And I'm not talking necessarily the prepping. I'm talking about the lifestyle. I mean, it's one thing to put away some buckets of beans and rice. It's another thing to really push this building a sense of community and tribe outside the system, where you're trying to do the best that you can to be self-sufficient as a community. And the real reason, I mean, the simplest reason for that is because we're training now, okay? When I talk about the mental and the physical preparedness in the sense of developing skills, training, getting to where you can do things good, you need to practice those things, okay? I mean, you know, if you want to be a good shot with the rifle, I mean, you can take a class, or you can have someone teach you, or maybe you've been in the military or law enforcement in the past, or some other, you know, shooting type of career, I guess. You know, you've done like competition or something. But if you haven't done it in a long time, you get a little rusty. I mean, sure, the muscle memory is most all still there, but you have to kind of re-hone those skills. And it's the same way with when you're learning for the first time. You can also just be taught how to do something, but you have to get out there and practice. And so that's why myself and many others are push this idea of doing the things that we need to do to survive now, not later. Not waiting until that time, like, okay, well, you know, it's finally all hit the fan. I guess I'm going to go out there and try to survive, you know, now that the cities are on fire and they're rounding everyone up, and, you know, there's no more paper money or anything. It's all digital. It's all hit the fan. You know, I have to have their mark just to go buy my groceries. I guess I'll go out there in the woods now and try to survive. You need to be doing those kind of things now, working on your survivability in the sense of how well you can sustain yourself and your community. Those things need to be happening now. You know, you're not. It's not a good idea to go out and plant a garden after it's all hit the fan, and you know, when there's no food available, or when it's not available to you because you don't have the proper paperwork. You want to start doing that now so that you can develop the skills that it takes to grow a proper garden, grow enough food to survive. So that's really the big reason why I constantly promote and push people, even to the point that sometimes it steps on others' toes, to get out and start developing these skills and start practicing and becoming good at it. That's the reason why there's other things going on around the country like this. There's other organizations. There's just in the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, I guess, I have spoken with a few different people with different organizations. One, they're developing a network, a nationwide network of preppers and homesteaders and groups, those types of groups, to try to help and create a network so they can communicate and share ideas, and talk to another group that doing similar types of things, a very liberty-minded group. Was actually on a really amazing call last night, and you know, a Zoom type call, and can't tell you everything because it's all still being developed. All right, so I have to just spoon feed you little bits here and there, but this is exciting. A group of people that they have the money and the influence to make this happen. They are developing a website that website marketplace, kind of like eBay or Etsy, or it could be like Amazon, And businesses will be able to sell their stuff. You as an individual will be able to sell, your stuff, your crafts, things that you make. But it's all the transaction part of it, the transfer of funds, it's all going to be done gold and silver. And you're like, what? How does that happen? Well, if you've been listening to my videos about this gold-backed bank where they take Federal Reserve notes and they convert it over to gold, and that's how they do the business, that's who they're going to be working with. So you will be able to go online and purchase the same kind of stuff you buy at eBay and at Amazon and all those other places, except the transaction will not be done in Federal Reserve notes. That's amazing, folks. The impact that could have. It blows my mind that these kinds of things are actually happening. Now, of course, you're all going to say, yeah, well, what about when the grid goes down and when the internet goes down? And yeah, I know. That's down the road. But right now, we should be doing these things. Not preparing to do those things at some later date. No, we should be doing these things right now. Why say, well, yeah, when it all hits the fan, I'll be pulling out my little silver dimes and I'll be buying bread. But for now, I'm still going to be buying my stuff through Walmart and Amazon and all these other places. Why not walk away from those systems now as much as possible and say, you know what? I know I still have the option to use paper money and that's absolutely worthless. And I know I have the option to go to, the big box stores and buy their China goods that makes them just more and more billionaires and they support this far left agenda. Or I could just step out of that system now. I could walk a completely different path that's being forged of a global community, really is what it is. A global community of people that are seeing what's happening and seeing it's wrong. And maybe they're hyper-focused on their locale, their small little group, but together we'll pull in together. And we're building something different, something new, something that's outside of this Agenda 2030 New World Order. And so it's exciting to see that. And that's why you have to be doing as much as you can every day to become more self-sufficient, to become more unplugged from the system. Because what it means is when it all comes crashing down, it's not gonna affect you near as much. Doesn't mean it won't. It won't affect you near as much. My grandmother, she died several years ago. She was 96 when she died. I remember her telling me about growing up during the Depression. And she would laugh and she'd say, we really didn't notice it. She said we were poor farmers. She said we lived way out. They didn't even own a car or anything. They were still using horses and wagons to travel around on. They were so poor and lived so far out. And she said, honestly, we didn't even know. She goes, I remember the day Daddy came home, her dad came home and said, yeah, they said that we're in a big depression. And she said, life didn't really change that much for us. Now, of course, it didn't change for them partly because they were really poor already. But it also didn't change for them very much because they were already very self-sufficient. My grandmother grew up, I mean, you would have thought she grew up during the time of the early pioneers. And so it didn't affect them as much as maybe it did other people that were poor but still very connected to the current system at the time. She said they pretty much raised all of their food and did most of the things that they needed to do all on their own. They didn't have electricity, so they didn't have to worry about paying for that. And so when these things start crashing down around us, if we are not plugged into them, either at all or near as much as we are now, it's not going to affect us as much. It will affect us, but not as much. And so that's the whole point of not just prepping for the rainy day, but living now as if the rainy day's happening, at least on our terms. And it gives us a little bit more control of how we enter into this collapse. So when you're planning to be prepared and you're planning to be self-sufficient, don't plan for it for something that you're going to be doing off in the future. Plan for it for what you're doing right now. Look at your life right now, your home, whether you're still in the city or you're out in the country, it doesn't matter. What are you doing right now to be more and more self-sufficient? And push yourself. Even those things that you think, oh, that's too hard. I can't do that right now. Well, are you sure? Can you push yourself a little bit more to be more self-sufficient? Can you step out of your comfort zone? Because that's really the biggest part of it. In a lot of ways, is that we're comfortable in where we're at now. We're comfortable going to the grocery stores and the Amazons and the Walmarts and all this kind of stuff now, because that's what we're used to. That's the system we're used to. We're comfortable using the paper money. We know it's junk. We know it's fake money. It's nothing more than monopoly money, but we're comfortable with that because that's what we know. It's stepping out of our comfort zone to figure out a way to barter, trade, and use other types of monies to transact business. It's uncomfortable because we don't know it. Well, sometimes we have to push ourselves to develop that comfort, to develop the knowledge and skills to do that. And that's what we need to be doing, folks. We need to be pushing ourselves to become more self-sufficient and our communities to be more self-sufficient. And what it does in the end, it just protects us. It gives us it puts us in a place that when all this comes crashing down, we will be more prepared because it's not going to affect us as much. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, spiritually. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.